We're on to the third category. This is channels where collectors just show and talk about their personal collections. There's quite a few channels I personally really like that are in this category. For example, my favorite is maybe A Collector's Dream. Orlando, shout out to you. But as I was looking at different kind of collector showcase type of channels, I realized there's really none that have large viewership. It's really interesting to me. The two largest I could find were the Mangini Collection and Pepino Man, who both have about 2.7K subscribers, which is still really very small, even by sports card channel standards, really. Very often, even with the collectors-oriented channels, it seems like the videos that are getting more views are less about their personal collections and more just the videos that they make about general hobby topics. So I find this really fascinating. I think there's some takeaways, not by what videos are getting watched, but by what videos are not getting watched. One takeaway I personally get from this is while there are a ton of sports card collectors out there just aren't that many that are sharing their collections on YouTube. It's a pretty small niche. I'm not exactly sure why. I think part of it is people are more interested in other people's collections if they actually know that person. And that kind of takes me on to point two. I also find it interesting that there is a strong community aspect in this collectors-oriented YouTube space that you don't necessarily see in other sports card spaces. I think there's more active like commenting on each other's videos, watching each other's videos. There's a bit more community. And I think this kind of speaks to the idea that a lot of people who want to see other people's collections only really like doing it if they have a personal connection with that person who owns the collection, unless it's like a super unique collection. It seems like it's a little bit more like internal, where, you know, people who are in that sphere are kind of, you know, very feeling connected, like there's a community there, but, you know, people externally are not necessarily drawn to be there because, you know, they're not necessarily wanting to see collections from people if they don't have any connection to that person. That's just my impression a little bit, which is a little bit unfortunate, I would also say, because I feel like this is the heart of the hobby in many ways. So this kind of insularness of the collector space on YouTube is a little strange, and the fact that these channels are getting less viewership is a little unfortunate, I would say. The third takeaway I'm having from this is most collectors-oriented channels generally are vintage focused, and there's a somewhat like older demographic, both with the viewers, is my impression, as well as with the channels, and they're almost all baseball focused. I've never seen a single channel that's collector-oriented that focuses on modern cards, and I've barely seen any that really focuses on basketball or football. Maybe they'll throw in a basketball or football, but it seems like the collector sphere, like the channels that are focused on just collector showcase kind of stuff, it's almost always vintage baseball. So I don't know, I find it interesting that you don't find modern oriented channels of collectors who are collecting modern stuff too much. I don't know if that might just be the nature of YouTube, and because maybe those collectors are more sharing in other spaces. Maybe they're over on Instagram or TikTok, but really 2.7 thousand subscribers being kind of the largest of among these kind of collector showcase channels is interesting. It's a very small number of subscribers, as in, I mean, it's double my channel, of course, but it's a very small amount of subscribers to be the largest kind of channels in this kind of category. I would kind of think there would be more interest in this, since sports card hobby at the heart of it is the collector's aspect. Of course, you know, I'm of the kind of mindset that being a collector, being a flipper, being, you know, an arbitrage seeker, you know, whatever it is, like there's all kinds of different ways, and I enjoy participating in the hobby in all of those ways. I'm just surprised that the collector's space on YouTube is as small as it is. All right, now on to the last category, and in this category I wanted to focus on a few more channels than any of the other categories. So this is the discussion/general hobby content category. This is the category that focuses on channels with a whole bunch of different hobby related topics. Now I wanted to focus on a few more channels in this category just because there's a lot of variety here, and I also think that this is the category that's more about the mental space that a lot of hobby people are in. It's where a lot of kind of overarching narratives are born and discussed. It's also where you find more of kind of the back and forth discussions, as well as where a lot of the hobby drama is bred and nurtured. So I think there's maybe more takeaways from this category than any others, because again, the purpose of this video is to kind of explore what is the general hobby mindset. Why are people watching hobby related YouTube content? What is the mental space that they want to get in? So in this category, we're going to start off by looking at the 6 largest channels that I'm defining to be in this category, which I should add, there's a certain level of subjectivity to which channel is in which category. You know, I couldn't decide on some channels. For example, like 502 Frank was one I was looking at. He could be in a channel like this, but he mostly does wax ripping and grading reveals, but he also does a lot of other things. So at first I was thinking he could be in this kind of category, but I was really trying to narrow this category to stuff that's really focused on discussions, just what, people's thoughts, so that I could get a sense of what people are thinking and what people are discussing most often in the YouTube sphere. So after these 6 largest channels, I'm going to add a few more that also have relatively large subscriber bases and that just I personally like. So basically we're going to be looking at 10 channels here. Again, keep in mind, I'm not including any of the channels that have a lot of subscribers, but that are not active channels either. All right, so let's go through one by one. First channel we're going to look at is the second largest channel of all in the sports card space, behind only Pac-Man, and that is Sports Card Investor with 222,000 subscribers. Now, this is pretty much for sure the most discussed sports card channel that there is, and one of the only channels that seems to often get that kind of influencer label to it. It started in 2019 and it blew up during the sports card boom. If we look at what its most watched videos are, it's kind of a mixture of older and newer uploads, but just in general, most of the videos tend to have a pretty large viewership, whatever the topic may be. I'd say that the videos all perform well on YouTube's algorithm, so really, even if there was just like a twiddling thumb video, it'd probably get a lot of views just because of the algorithm. This channel is kind of like the gateway into the YouTube sports card world for a lot of people, and I think that's kind of its niche, if you could say it had a niche. I don't know exactly what to say about it as far as takeaways though, because honestly, it's kind of the channel that has a lot of supporters and a lot of haters. The discussions run the gamut from kind of meaningful to shallow, from insightful to plain wrong, and from genuine to very advertisement-like. So I don't know, I guess one takeaway is it seems to me that there must still be quite a few relative newbies in the hobby and in the YouTube hobby space on a regular basis, because this channel is incredibly popular and it seems like a place where newer people are coming to it regularly. At the same time, after saying that, maybe it's not only that, because a lot of other people, just because there's so many people there, people are also coming to see what everybody else is watching. If you read the comment section, it can be a little bit Warzone-like at times, but it's interesting as a place to kind of get a quick snapshot on a whole range of perspectives, who are either new and just there to learn, or who are supporting whatever is being said, and others who are really opposed to what is being said. So it's kind of an interesting space to explore through the comment sections just to see how people are thinking about things. The second biggest channel in this category, I'm happy to report, is the baseball card collector investor dealer with 60,000 subscribers. For me as a YouTube content creator, I'd say if there was any one channel I kind of look to as a personal model for what I hope my channel could be, this is the channel that kind of stands out for me personally. Let's take a look at some of the most popular and most viewed videos on this channel, and most of them are kind of like the most valuable card of this or that era, but there's actually quite a range of topics that get good levels of viewership on this channel, which is cool. From sports card business related videos to history related videos to kind of general kind of advice to be aware of videos. Generally, all the topics seem to do pretty well, but that being said, it does seem like the videos that have something to do with making money, whether it be highlighting valuable cards or highlighting large-scale collections he's buying, these kind of videos seem to get the most views. I feel like my own channel, though significantly smaller than this one, kind of mirrors a lot of the same. All right, the third one we're going to look at really briefly, this is Sports Card Invest with 47,000 subscribers. Now, I don't think we need to spend as much time here because the videos in general don't get the kind of viewership as the other channels that we're looking here on this list. I have heard others say that this channel started as kind of maybe like a gaming channel or something like that, got a lot of subscribers that way, and then it shifted to becoming a sports card oriented channel during the early COVID days. I don't know if that's true. I've just heard people say that. So I think that if that is true, the number of subscribers here might be a little bit deceiving. Even, some channels that have 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers get a lot more views than this one does. So I don't think for the purposes of this video, I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on this channel. The next one, Sports Card Radio with just under 22,000 subscribers. It's the fourth largest channel in this category. And this one is the source of a lot of discussions in the hobby spaces recently. A lot of their most popular videos are kind of within the last half year or so. And they've definitely had a meteoric rise in the YouTube space. They've been around for a long time, but it's only recently where their videos have gained a lot of viewership. Looking at their most popular videos, a lot of them are kind of like their angry rants, some of which are rooted in really excellent investigation and some of which are rooted in kind of baseless clickbait conspiracy, which in my opinion actually makes for one of the most confusing channels out there. This channel has a seeming superpower to bring up topics that become widely discussed in the sports card world, which is a really good thing. Dozens and dozens of other channels end up picking up the topics that they bring up and discuss them in different smaller spaces. But the challenge for me is sometimes these topics are born out of kind of in-depth in-depth exploration, thoughtful consideration, and a seeming desire to bring out some important truth. And sometimes these topics are born out of kind of ego-driven pettiness, shallow hate, and personal squabbles. But whether the topics are born from that first category or that second category, they always seem to end up taking pretty deep root in wider discussions, for better or for worse. You can tell I have very mixed feelings about the channel. I can't go back to watching their insightful videos when I'm distracted by these other ones that are just so angry and so gossip mongering. It makes it a little hard for me to navigate, like finding the gems within the garbage piles. So that's just my opinion with things, though. It's an enigma of a channel. All right, the next one is Scotty B Cards with 18.5 thousand subscribers. It's the 5th largest channel in this category. Scotty's channel is very baseball oriented and kind of less about overarching hobby discussions and more about kind of analyzing everything related to the baseball card market. I kind of would say he's a baseball fan first and a card enthusiast second, but he dives into different topics that are really well done, and I think it's a great channel. Looking here at the most watched videos on his channel, they're often related to grading company commentary and thoughts about the best upcoming young baseball players. He does have a lot of comparisons to historical context and stuff, which is one of the reasons I really like his deep dives into different baseball card topics. Even if I'm more a basketball card person, I still find his deep dives, his insights to be very useful in a lot of ways. So there's a thoughtfulness to this channel, which is really nice. You know, you can see that. You know, I appreciate how that kind of thoughtfulness is watched by a lot of people. All right, then the next channel we're going to look at is the Sports Card Dad with just under 18,000 subscribers. Now, in many ways, I think I wanted to include this channel because looking at the number of views on his videos is an interesting way to get a read on what a lot of people in the hobby are finding interesting. I say that because, you know, the fact that he uploads a video every single day and his topics are so wide ranging. You know, he every kind of, you know, if you're uploading something every single day, you have to have a wide ranging kind of topic areas. So I think because of how much range there is in the topics, it's interesting to see like which kind of videos do well and which kind don't do as well. You know, if you look at his most viewed videos, the ones that are older, the ones that get the most views that are older tend to be more evergreen stuff that are more useful for newer hobbyists. Those ones do really well. And then it seems to me like the other topics that do well are the ones that have kind of general hobby news, but stories that affect a large number of people, like announcements by grading companies or production companies, that kind of thing, and then discussions about those news stories. And then more recently, you know, that he had a series, a couple of videos about his kind of struggle with card addiction, and that one has jumped up quickly as some of the most popular stuff on his channel. And it's interesting to me. I kind of wonder if it's because other people are facing a similar challenge, or if it's more about people like to stare at car wrecks and they're just like looking for something, a challenge that somebody's going so they can stare at it like it's a car accident or something like that. I don't know what much motivation is there for people watching it. All right, now there's 4 more channels I want to share that's in this category that are also pretty large, sort of, but they're a little less large. But I wanted to include them for a few specific reasons, and I'll mention them with each channel because there's kind of a different reason I wanted to include each of these channels here. The first one is Neo Cards and Comics with about 13.4 thousand subscribers. Now, it's not quite in the list of largest channels in this category to be included here, but it's very, very close. And I wanted to include it here because he also kind of talks about a lot of different hobby-related topics, and he tends to have an audience that talks a lot in the comments section about the different topics. You know, some YouTube content creators inspire conversations like him, and some are good creators but don't necessarily inspire that much conversation, maybe like me, because I don't get a whole lot of comments except for the same few people. Thank you guys. I don't get a whole lot of comments happening down there, but Neo's videos always do. I feel like they do inspire quite a bit of conversation, so I wanted to include him there for that, include him in this video for that reason. Looking at the videos that have been watched the most often on his channel, it's interesting to note how many of them are non-sports card related. Now, his channel does talk a lot about Marvel, comics, other things, other spaces, but sports cards are also a big part of his channel as well and a common topic. So I find it really interesting how his top videos tend to be non-sports card related. And scrolling through other top watch videos on his channel, it also seems like grading company related videos do really well also. And then after that, it seems to be general sports card related news kind of discussions, especially ones that are kind of like Break the Sports Card Dad that are relevant to a large number of people. The next I wanted to look at is Retro Hoops Collectibles. Now it's a little bit smaller, 6.6 thousand subscribers, but I wanted to include it here because I enjoy the channel a lot and it has a pretty large subscriber base, at least by sports card channel standards. And I also wanted to include it because this is one that I think has grown grown a lot in the past maybe year or so, I think, at least. I mean, I remember when I subscribed, it was nowhere near this large. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it has grown a lot. But that being said, looking at the most viewed videos on this channel is interesting, because it's almost entirely made up of grading company related videos. And the vast majority of the most viewed videos are from a year or two ago, which is kind of surprising to me since I don't think the subscriber base was as large then. But scrolling through the most viewed videos, it's almost always related to grading companies. And I know from being a regular viewer of this channel that that isn't like the only thing he talks about or anything. He has a lot of different topics. My guess is that it was once the major focus he had back a year or two ago. He's talking a lot about HDA. And so a lot of the subscriber base that got in early was mostly interested in grading company related videos. So some of those people may not often watch when the topic is not related to grading. Maybe, I'm just thinking. But it is interesting to see how well the grading company related videos do on this channel, which is a pattern I've seen on a few channels. Grading company related videos seem to always do well. The last channel I wanted to look at for this video was my own. It doesn't have anywhere near the subscribers, 1.4K. But part of the reason I was doing this video, I mean, I wanted to share with you the takeaways I was getting from these things, but I also wanted to see what it would mean for me. So I kind of wanted to look at my own channel through this same kind of perspective and see what I could learn. And I find it interesting that when I look at what videos on my own channel do the best, it kind of seems to be a pretty wide mix of topic areas. And my two most viewed videos are both kind of junk wax related, and then quite a few in the top are ComC related, and then the other ones are kind of, I don't know what categories I'd put them in. I mean, they're in categories of their own a little bit. The Prism Color Parallel Guides, the Redemption How-To, Chrome Greening video, standalone videos about some random topics that I was interested in. And then maybe the grading company videos also tend to do pretty well. And I haven't made many of those, and I made them when I wasn't very good at this channel making thing yet, I think, too. But one other thing I noticed is that in the top viewed videos, only one of them is related to sports card history, which personally I think is a little unfortunate, because for me personally, those are maybe my favorite videos to make and the ones I put more time in when I do make them. But I think that's kind of a pattern I'm seeing when I look at other channels. It seems like history-related channels, sports card history-related channels don't get a lot of viewers. Sports card history-related videos on larger channels get less views than other things. So I think that's one of the takeaways I'm taking from this general reflection here. Let's consider a few other takeaways, just general takeaways from this category. One is it seems like overall some of the most popular topics for large numbers of people to watch include videos about things like grading company, making money stuff, shady happening stuff, and then maybe also related to like general news, recent happenings, and then discussions about that. And then similarly, some of the topics that seem to not get as many views include, like I was saying, sports card history related stuff, more kind of like abstract thoughts and reflections on the bigger picture of the culture of the hobby kind of stuff, and then things that don't directly help someone make a decision about something. So that kind of points to this, this point that seems to me like the things that viewers are most interested in watching are things that help lead them to make actionable decisions better. There's not as many viewers interested in just kind of general knowledge stuff. They're more like interested in stuff that have a more direct, straightforward, concrete effect on their regular day-to-day interaction with the hobby. That's at least what I'm kind of taking away from some of this, and it does make sense. And I can definitely see that reflected in my own channel when I have just general topics that are thoughts about something I'm digging into, but it's not necessarily leading to some action I'm going to make. Those videos don't do as well as some specific action that I'm doing or that I'm saying that would help somebody to make their own action or something like this. So I find that interesting. Another takeaway from this category is I think there's a growing number of people, sizable number of people who really like, I don't know, the soap opera aspects of the hobby space, the kind of exclamation point style gossip videos, like Sports Card Radio, they often drop that kind of video. Or, the fact that like Sports Card Dad's most popular video very quickly was the Card Addict video, that it just rose so fast in a short time. I think this says something about how people like to stare at car crashes, kind of something like that. Fifth takeaway from this category is I'm reflecting on Sports Card Investor channel. The fact that it gets a lot of ongoing viewership to me suggests that there's still quite a few relatively new people coming into the hobby and the YouTube related hobby space, because that channel is kind of like the gateway channel before people start getting into the harder stuff. And then the sixth takeaway from this category is I think it's really fascinating that the second largest channel after SCI in this category is the baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. I'm really happy about that. And the fact that it's the second largest, and by quite a large margin over the third largest, which would really be Sports Card Radio. And this channel is about 3 times larger than that. And I'm encouraged by that because, this channel doesn't have kind of the hype. It doesn't have the production value of Sports Card Investor. It's a little bit more down to earth, but it's just straight knowledgeable. There's not a lot of frills. There's not a lot of like stuff around it. It's just the hobby and presented in a simple way, knowledgeable, but just presented simply through a conversation. And I don't know, to me, the fact that so many people are drawn to that, the fact that that's the second largest channel in this category, is actually extremely encouraging to me, because to me it says something that people actually, there's a large number of people who are looking for more kind of frillless, hypeless, straight hobby discussions about topics, about a variety of topics that can sometimes be about money-making stuff, can sometimes be about collector-oriented stuff, can sometimes be about history-related stuff, can be about all of these topics, and doesn't have to have all the frills, and it will still be appreciated by a large number of people. To me, that's extremely encouraging, because I feel like that is the hobby. That's a more genuine reflection of my impression of what the hobby is. So anyway, that's just my opinion on all this stuff. What did you, as you were looking through some of the videos that I was scrolling through there in this video, did anything come to your mind? Was there any kind of takeaways that you had from any of these different explorations? Let us know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a long one. This became so long. I think I might turn this into 2 videos. Otherwise, this is going to be like, sit down with your dinner and hang out for a long time. But I hope this was useful. It was fun for me. It's just making this video and looking at what actually are the most popular videos. What are other things that people are most interested in? Fascinating for me. And as a content creator and somebody trying to build an audience, I'm not going to necessarily just say, oh, people want this, so I'm going to do that. It's not my style, but it is interesting to know what people are the most interested in, and see what my thoughts are about some of those topics that maybe are not interesting to me. The fact that things like grading is so popular and seems to be the one of the topics that gets a lot of views, and even on my channel has gotten a decent amount of views, but I don't necessarily like grading that much. I don't feel a necessity to bring a whole lot of videos about that. Anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on this. So that's it for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.